Hey art nerds, today we are taking a look at the Mozart Komorebi. Now that might sound familiar to some of you who have hung out with me here on the channel for a long time. We did take a look at the Mozart Komorebi set years ago, the 40-piece Gensai style set. Today we're taking a look at their newer metallic set, and I'm really excited about this because the pictures online make it look really good, like comparable to Finetec good, which if it is, that could be amazing. So my plan today is to swatch this set, compare it against some other metallic watercolors, and let you guys know how it compares and how it ranks. So I hope you guys are ready because I am really excited to unbox and swatch this one today. Long-time viewers, those of you who have hung out with me for a while, know that I actually really like the Mozart Komorebi paints. I reviewed them a long time ago. I still use them pretty frequently when doing origami and floral illustrations, and they pop up on the channel from time to time just kind of in a casual manner. So I was really excited when Mozart announced, or when I found a listing, let's be real, on Amazon for their metallic watercolors. Now, not everything Mozart makes is pure gold. There's some stinkers in there, but I'm hopeful that this set is actually going to deliver. If you enjoy Anna Green Gables, Studio Ghibli movies, and cottagecore, you'll enjoy 7-Inch Kara. 7-Inch Kara is an all watercolor comic that follows the adventures of tiny Kara as she discovers the truth behind a huge family secret. You can read the first 8 chapters at 7inchkara.com, and if you enjoy it, I hope you'll consider purchasing Volume 1 and Volume 2. So my goals for today are to unbox and swatch these, maybe also swatch them on black watercolor paper so that we can really see the shimmer and shine. I'm also hoping to compare them against some other popular metallic watercolors for you guys. And also maybe, if I can dig up the set, talk about the original Mozart Komorebi set, which did come with some pearlescent colors. So if you guys are interested in beautiful metallic watercolors, and if you want to know if these can hold up against the Finetec watercolors, then you're in the right place. The exterior packaging is pretty simple. It says Komorebi metallic watercolor paints. We're going to get 24 metallic colors. Then on the back, it says Komorebi is a simple word in Japanese which describes the subtle beauty of sunlight shining through the leaves of the trees and the dance the rays make. Our metallic watercolor paint set has been created with artists in mind, focusing on a high level of pigmentation and soft texture to our paints. This set includes a wonderful spectrum of 24 shimmery metallic paints that look beautiful on both white and black paper. They have a link to their Mozart online art community, or rather an symbol, Mozart Art Supplies, designed in New York, responsibly made in China. I'd like to see some proof of that. ASTM D4236 compliant with non-toxic paints. And even though they're designed in New York and this is supposed to be an American art supply company, the address down at the bottom is for London. And then down here it says, we hope you never have the need, but if you do, our service is friendly and hassle-free. Contact us with contact us through email at support as Woo! Okay, all right, let's try that again. Support at mozartsupplies.com. And of course, choking hazard, small parts not suitable for 0 through 3 years old. Frankly, these kind of watercolors probably not suitable for them, regardless of whether or not it's a choking hazard. It has been shrink wrapped. We have a cardboard belly band, and then we have a metallic or a metal tin on the inside that is very, very similar to the Seamiart watercolors we took a look at not super long ago. And I paid $19.99 for this on Amazon. I'll have a link down in the description below for you guys if you want to get your own, or if you want to order that original 40 color palette that we're going to talk about a little bit later. Now, the Amazon listing says 24 vivid metallic colors. Sorry, I don't want to cut myself, but I also want to try opening this while I'm reading it. Our Komorebi metallic watercolor paint set of 24 features vibrant colors, and each color is selected by a team of professional artists very carefully. These watercolors are infused with sheening pigment to provide a unique metal or liquid metal finish. portable. This shimmery premium painting set comes with 24 different colors in a portable metal box. Well, yes, most palettes are portable. These colors are suitable for beginners as well as advanced level artists of various watercolor painting. Easy to use. To get fresh and vibrant colors without any hustle, you just need to add a very little amount of water with the watercolors while using. Perfect gift. These Japanese style watercolors. Now, I understood with the other Komorebi set because that was Gansai style, but these don't seem like Japanese style watercolors. These Japanese style watercolors with highly pigmented and lustrous colors are a perfect gift for Christmas, Thanksgiving, birthdays, and I feel like I've read this copy before. I feel like I read this with either Seamiart or Superior before. I wonder if these are an OEM product. They've certainly got that stank of like an OEM cheap watercolor. Oh, they are, we'll talk about this in a second. And then they mention their customer care. They are also supposedly created by artists for artists. Mozart Supplies was founded in the UK. I was wrong, sorry, the UK, not the US. By a husband and wife duo in 2016. Since then, they've been creating a range of art supplies to help artists take their art to the next level. Our mission. Mozart's mission is to offer art supplies that aren't only top-notch quality, but also irreplaceable. Does that mean you can't order more? Our mission is to make an artist believe how the perfect Our mission is to make an artist believe how the perfect stroke from the perfect brush can make a difference. I get what they're saying, but how they worded that is confusing. Our vision. Mozart envisions its supplies to be an essential part of lives of every artist, through every creative head and any individual who seeks to express themselves through art. Mozart pictures its products in every artist's household, every office, and every school. And these are supposedly artist approved. So inside we have, this is looking so much like the Seamiart. Well, okay, there's things about this that are looking so much like the Seamiart. For example, we have a swatch card on cellulose watercolor paper. Not the worst. Not sure what order that's in, actually. I don't know if it's actually in the same order as these, but we'll talk about that in a second. We have a black printed swatch card. That's actually pretty cool. We also have, since this is a double layer watercolor set and there's a high chance of pollution, we have a plastic protector. That's actually pretty thoughtful. And then each pan, oh, this is interesting. All right. Each pan is removable. You can change where they go. They have, it says hashtag DW, hashtag CG. Okay. Yes. Awesome. They do actually correspond with the swatch sheet. So what I'm going to have to do is reorder everything in the swatch sheet so that I can actually swatch it appropriately. Now, these little chiclets, that's stuck in there good. These little chiclets of paint are not what I expected. They're pretty. They sure do look like makeup. I was expecting something more like the Finetec, and these don't seem to be quite as dry as the Finetec. They're also pretty small, and it's weird that we have these nice kind of replaceable little patés of paint, but the liner inside is the really cheap, flimsy plastic. It's like I feel like they probably purchased the case, commissioned someone to make an inexpensive liner, and probably maybe found someone already manufacturing these paints, but it's all supposition. Now, I could reach out to them with these questions, and maybe I will, but I don't really expect to get an answer because generally customer service with these kind of companies is more geared towards handling returns and complaints than it is towards answering actual questions about the manufacturing process. I kind of learned that when dealing with Arteza. Some of these pans are really challenging to pop out to the point where I had to go pull out a palette knife and use that to leverage them out. And I think part of the reason is because the plastic liner is so cheap that it kind of buckles as you're pulling out the pans, which means since you get no resistance, it's so much harder to pull them out. So this is definitely something you're going to want to keep in mind if you want to rearrange these. These will also not fit in a Finetec set, so it's not like you can mix and match. So these actually do correspond with the swatch sheet, but it's book style. So as you guys can see here, so I actually didn't have to rearrange them at all, but it was a good exercise in figuring out how to pry out these half pans. And that's an accessibility issue that might affect other artists. So I'm glad I tested it. So I figured out the orientation for these swatch cards. It opens, there's no orientation given, but it opens like a book. And then we read it from left to right, top to bottom. So you don't actually have to rearrange these. I was trying to make it easier for myself, and then I realized that they actually had an orientation and that they match up with the swatch cards. I've been reviewing way too many crummy sets where the swatch card does not at all match up with the order of the paints inside. So they've broken me. So we've got two swatch cards here. We've got black, we've got white. The black is on what looks like just a plain black, almost like a mixed media paper, a little thin for that. At least it has the swatches printed on it. When we've done this in the past with the Seamiart, which this is kind of starting to look like, they didn't even do that. And then this is a linen textured cellulose watercolor paper, really thin, no thicker than cardstock. But you know, for these in-box swatch cards, they don't have to be super nice. Ideally, watercolor paper, but cellulose is fine. So what I'm gonna do is I am going to tape them down. We're gonna do our swatches, and then later we're gonna swatch on our Blick Studio watercolor paper. But I wanna give these the best chance possible. So I'm gonna spritz them with some clean water first, let them absorb some of that water, and hopefully it'll be a little bit easier to get those pigments up and moving. I'm taping down their swatch card with MT's white washi tape. This is a favorite of mine, and it's going to prevent it from buckling as we add paint and water. So I pre-activated the swatches to give them the best chance of success. And I am swatching with a silver black velvet brush. So on the white paper, these are not as saturated as I'd like, nor as opaque. Many of the colors are softer and more muted once swatched than desirable. The masstone in the pan looks way more interesting, saturated, and vibrant than the reality of these paints. I'm going to compare them more directly to Finetec's later on, but although these look like they might be a Finetec dupe, they are absolutely not. Obviously, we don't have pigment information for this, but we can definitely assume mica is involved. The colors in this set are Steel, Fire Gold, Antique Gold, which is a duochrome with pink, Purple, which is a duochrome with blue, Silver, Ruby, Frosted Blush, which is a duochrome with white or silver, Sapphire, Yellow Gold, which is really more like yellow-white, Rose Quartz, which is a duochrome with pink, Rose Gold, Arctic Ice, Light Gold, Opal Orchid, which is a duochrome with a purplish color, Golden Heather, gold duochrome with purple, but not a lot of purple, Emerald, Bronze Dusty Rose, which is a duochrome with maybe a peach, Garnet, which is a duochrome with an orangish red and pinkish red, Seafoam Pearl, which is a green with a golden duochrome, which is a really interesting color combo, Copper, Pink Satin, Amethyst, Green Apple, and Green Apple has a little gold in it. There are lots of pinks and coppers in this set, but not really a lot of blues, greens, yellows, etc. So this is kind of a limited set despite what the colors in the pans look like. Quite a few of the colors are duochrome, but don't really offer much of interest. It's really just a color change that is more noticeable on black paper. It's really challenging to get the sort of saturation you would want from a set like this. These are somewhere between the Yasutomo and Artist Loft pearlescent watercolors and the Finetec, but they're leaning more towards the cheaper end. Mozart is pretty active on social media in that they have a lot of social media presences. I'm going to link that down in the show notes. Mozart is also an OEM/ODM company that white labels products from other manufacturers. So if you know who the original manufacturer of this set is, please let me know. I kind of have a feeling it's Seamiart, but I could be wrong. Mozart offers markers, and most of these are similar or dupes to what's on the market, including watercolor brush pens, dual tip markers, alcohol markers, and paint markers. Paints like watercolor, acrylic, and oil. Brushes, mainly water brushes and synthetic watercolor brushes. Crafting supplies like origami and washi tape. Sketching supplies like mechanical pencils, wooden pencils, and paper pads, including watercolor paper. And I actually have one of their sketchbooks that I need to review for y'all. And some of their other paint sets look a lot like the Seamiart paint sets that I've talked about here on the channel. We've swatched on their paper. We can see a few differences in color between on the white paper and on the black paper. Like antique gold, for example, looks pink on white paper, but actually gold on the black paper. Purple actually looks more like blue on the black paper, but there's not as many color shift or duochrome colors as I would have liked in this set. And it's just not as opaque as even the kind of knockoff Finetec that Alvin makes. So I'm going to swatch these on Blick Studio cotton rag watercolor paper, and I'm probably also going to swatch them on Stonehenge black watercolor paper, just because I'm a completionist and sometimes cellulose watercolor paper doesn't really give the best indication of what paints are really capable of. So unlike with my other unbox and swatches, I'm not necessarily going to be doing washout tests or anything like that, because when I'm using these kind of special effects colors, I'm usually using them at full saturation, so it doesn't really matter to me if they wash out much. Now these seem to be dyed mica, as you guys can see, so we're also not going to be really looking at granulation or anything like that because it's mica. There's only so much you can get from that. So next up are swatches on cotton rag watercolor papers. So this is an excellent time for me to remind you guys that this video was, if you guys could not tell, not sponsored by an outside source. It was sponsored by my amazing patrons over on Patreon. I use the funds from Patreon to purchase the reviews that you guys see, or purchase the supplies that you guys see in most of my reviews, as well as consumables like paper. So this was not sent to us by Mozart. Mozart did not ask me to review it. It was purchased out of pocket on Amazon. I paid full price for it, and it's only thanks to my awesome patrons that I'm able to do these kind of reviews. So a huge thank you to them for their help and support. If you would like to join their hallowed ranks, you can join me over at patreon.com/nanosoup. And for just $2 a month, you can sleep secure knowing that you are helping me, as unbiased as possible, review art supplies, that you guys can find art supplies that'll work for you and that hopefully will make you happy and can do what you need them to do. So here is our first of the two cotton rag papers. I'm gonna just turn it over this way. I wonder if I can finagle it in a way that you guys can see both. Maybe I should do it side by side like this. That might work. We have 24 colors here, so it's what, 6 rows of 4? I think we could manage that. All right, so let's get to swatching. Unfortunately, I lost the footage for this. Don't know where it went, but I reactivated the paints again, and we're just gonna talk over a static image. So these are all mica plus a dye base, which you can see with the water. Some of them, that dye actually starts to come up into the water, and that's why there isn't really a lot of quote-unquote liquid metal like they promise, or a lot of saturation. They're leaning really heavily on those dyes, and the mica payoff is not really that impressive either. It seems like a lot of the dyes don't even really take to the mica that well. I had to do a layer where I really scrubbed with the brush and applied that, and then scrubbed again. So 2 layers to get any kind of saturation down. There's also no granulation or, you know, washing out. In fact, they wash out to nothing really fast, which is pretty indicative of them being dye-based. Really, although the packaging itself looks very promising and enticing, these are nothing special. They are very similar to the Artist Loft pearlescent watercolors and the Yasutomo watercolors, which are around $10 each. I mean, they might be more expensive now because everything's more expensive, but in general, they're around $10 each. So here are the swatches on the cotton rag paper. I didn't really notice that much of a difference on this paper, but I do have some Stonehenge Aqua Cold Press that we can try out. Thankfully, I do have the swatch footage for me swatching on the Stonehenge Aqua Black watercolor paper. So this is a black cotton rag paper. I've reviewed it here on the channel. I've also tested a bunch of watercolors on it, and I've even done some tutorials on it. It's a pretty cool paper, and I think it is the fairest test these paints are going to get on a black paper. So these really remind me of the grabby watercolors that I reviewed for y'all not too long ago, with a slightly different format and not as wide a color range and not as much payoff. These really kind of disappointed me. I boo-boo the fool. I believed the hype that was on the Mozart listing, and I've also really liked their 40 color set. I was pretty impressed with that set. So, you know, the fact that these are disappointing, but that's what you get sometimes from ODM and OEM and white labeling companies, is some of the products will be really good because they're coming from a good manufacturer, and some of them will be really terrible. There is no consistency. It's not like you can say, this is Mozart, it's a good brand. It is all over the map. Like what y'all did not get to see with the swatches on the white paper, I'm going over it a second time for a second layer, just trying to give it a chance at that quote-unquote liquid metal. The second layer is better, but I mean, honestly, Finetec, if you pre-activate it and you scrub hard enough, you can get a pretty good first layer down. And then if you want to, you can add a second layer, but it's not necessary. With these, the second layer is definitely necessary. Swatched these on 4 different papers. I've swatched them on their included swatch sheets, as well as Stonehenge Aqua Black and Blick Studio Cotton Rag watercolor paper, and I'm just really not that impressed. Mostly because there are other less expensive or better performing metal watercolors on the market that you guys could spend your money on. So I'm gonna go grab a few of those and we'll actually talk about them and do a little bit of comparison. So I promised you guys some comparisons. I don't have any of the swatches handy, but I will include segments from relevant videos when I have them so you guys can see. So I would say out of what I have right now, the closest competition to this set, and I'll also go ahead and point out, I do own the 40-piece Komorebi set. I went looking for it. I cannot find it. So I guess I will have to maybe do that comparison in a later video. But to be real, I never really used the pearlescence in that set all that much. So I would say the real German Finetecs are probably their, you know, their biggest threat, the biggest competition. These are the Alvin Finetecs. They're kind of a knockoff, but they work pretty well. I would say these are much nicer than these. They both have the, let me see if I can get this one. Yeah. The pop and click kind of construction. You can't really swap them because the circles are different sizes. This is actually a metal tin, and these actually go into the metal tin itself rather than in a plastic liner that's already getting kind of bent out of shape. But this is also a metal tin, so travel wise, this would actually lock a little more securely. But, and you guys will see in a minute, this is the same container that the Seamiart watercolors have. So this would be kind of the multicolor set. It's not a 24 color set, it's a 12 color set, but these are way more saturated than this. You're going to get way more color palette, and frankly, I think the color range is a little bit better than what we're seeing here. You even get an interesting black, you get a mystic color. Most of these are not duotones, most of these are just a single color. Although Finetec does offer duotones, you can buy them both open stock and in sets. That's another thing you can get. These open stock, David's has them, Plaza has them, a few different places have them. So this would be, they call them flip-flop color. This would be another one of the Finetec sets. So even though these are a slightly different format, these fit into those. So you can mix and match your Finetec sets. Now I do have a couple of the Finetec, like the real Finetec golds. I don't know where they are right now, but those are great. They're really good for like a really nice saturated liquid gold. But really, if you're looking for a liquid gold and slight fumes don't bother you, it's actually put away with my class stuff right now. But Winsor & Newton makes a gold ink that is, it has particles of bronze in it, so it does color shift over time. But that is one of the best fake golds that I've found. In my opinion, your local brush letterer might have their own favorites that they can recommend. And I do have a big metallic showdown where I swatch a bunch of different metallic watercolors. So if you're looking for some good metallics, that could be a great video to check out. And this is one of the other Finetec sets. So the Alvin Finetecs offer a variety of different sets. If you want the real deal Finetecs, the Color Eero or Color something like that, the German ones, then you can get them on Paper and Ink Arts. I don't have any affiliation with them. I used to live in Nashville. They operate out of Nashville, but we've never actually collaborated. Anyway, I would say this just visually is the closest competition. This is worth paying the extra money. I've had this set for a while. I actually use this set pretty often, and I haven't actually used up any one of the colors all the way. So these don't have, this seems to have like a glycerin or some other sort of sticky binder. These get used up really quick. These are much drier and much harder. So with these, you want to pre-activate them with water and let it sit for like 5 minutes. And then you can actually pick up a lot of color. So whatever these are using is much drier and it lasts a lot longer. Whereas these are already starting to get used up. And then another set I thought they were very similar to are the Grabby watercolors that I reviewed. So I do actually have the swatches for these on the Blick Studio cotton rag paper. So we can actually take a look at them and compare them. They are pretty similar. That gold's actually way nicer than anything we get in this set. But yeah, in general, these two sets are pretty similar. This is a 36 color set. This is a 24 color set. I think on the Grabby website, they are charging $40 for this set. You don't get as much paint in the half pans, and it also gets used up, as you guys can see, pretty quickly. I haven't actually used it since I've done the unboxing swatch. I haven't had a chance to field test it yet. So this is just from swatching them up there. So they do get used up pretty quickly. They also have a very soft binder, and they also really benefit from pre-activation. And the problem with this set, in my opinion, is it's got too many of these kind of grayish colors, too many of these kind of muted greens, too many of the muted teals, and not enough just color variety. That's actually something both these sets have in common. I'm not really seeing like a good fire engine red. Now, this set here has some really pretty blues, but I'm not seeing a good like dragonfly green or a good really orange. You know, everything is a little bit muted. And then finally, I kind of believe this might be being white labeled from Seamiart. And yeah, I am biased because the exterior container is very similar. Actually, this feels cheaper than the Seamiart one, and the Seamiart one is pretty cheap. There's just a lot of similarities between the Mozart Komorebi set and the Seamiart 90 color set. So both of them are inside a latch shut metal container. Both of them came with a cellulose paper swatcher and a black paper swatcher. I actually think the black paper swatcher for the Komorebi is a little bit heavier. Now, the real telltale sign, okay? If you were gonna buy one of these two sets specifically for the metallic pearlescent colors, the Seamiart ones are terrible. They're really bad. They are laughably weak. They are so thirsty and so chalky and so dry, and you just can't get anything out of them, and you have to really scrub them. So I would not recommend this set at all. The Komorebi set is a little bit nicer than that. This set compared to the other Mozart Komorebi set, I actually really like the other Mozart Komorebi set, and I don't like this set nearly as much as I like the other Mozart Komorebi set. And the other Komorebi set is like 25 to 30 on Amazon, kind of depending, 40 colors. There's a lot of pearlescents in it. There's some neons. I don't really use the pearlescents or the neons in that set, but I do use all the other colors. I don't think I can get refills for that set, which is a bit of a shame. But I really like that set, and it's like a Gensei style watercolor in a more compact form factor. So for me, that really works for some of the kind of stuff that I like to do. Whereas this, it's not the liquid metal that they're promising. It doesn't have the saturation that they're promising. And I really tried to get these as saturated as possible and they're still not as saturated as I would like. So I was really looking forward to this set. I thought it had a lot of promise. The pictures online don't show that this is a really cheap plastic liner. The pictures online don't show how hard this is to get out. The pictures online don't show how not saturated they are. They also look a little drier online, more like the Finetec. So I was thinking that perhaps this set was very similar to this set, like maybe they were working from the same manufacturer. I no longer believe that to be the case. So if you're only going to get one, I would recommend you go with the Finetec over the Mozart Komorebi. I think with a little bit of patience, just in terms of letting the paint soak up that water and activate, you're gonna be a lot happier with this set than you would be with this set. So what are the pros and cons of the Mozart Komorebi liquid metal watercolors? We're going to start with the pros. So there are some neat duochrome shifts in this set. Maybe not as dramatic as I might like, but they look different on black paper than they do on white paper, which could make for some fun special effects. They are cheaper than the Finetec watercolors, and they come in a sturdy metal tin that latches shut. What about the cons? These don't perform nearly as well as the Fintecs, and they are not the liquid metal promised. They're also not nearly saturated enough, nor is the color range what I would want from a 24 color set. There's just not enough range here to really justify it. And some of the duochromes are just a dye plus a different colored mica, so they would probably fade pretty quickly. And one of the big appeals, in my opinion, of these kind of special effects watercolor is that they look really, really cool in person, and they don't always look as nice in static images like scans. So these, in my opinion, are really good for like commission work, and I'm afraid that the colors in these are going to shift or fade really quickly, and you're going to lose a lot of the dramatic impact. So it's hard for me to recommend these to my friends who are commission artists. It also takes a stiffer brush to actually pick up the color, and the watercolors seem to get worn down really quickly. And the plastic liner in the tin is cheap, and it's difficult to remove the watercolors. My verdict on the Mozart Komorebi liquid metal watercolors is, I say pass. There are better on the market and cheaper on the market, and this is neither better nor cheaper. It is really very comparable to the Grabby or the Yasutomo or the Artist Loft metallic watercolors. They look great in the pans when they're brand new. They do look like makeup, and according to the Mozart Facebook page, that was something they were actually going for. I think they just kind of used makeup molds myself, but that was something they wanted. They did look like makeup when new, very appealing. They photograph really nicely, very aspirational art. But in terms of actual practice, there's much better on the market. And if you're not able to pay for that, there's much cheaper on the market that performs comparably, and you often have a bigger or better color selection. And look, with the exception of different colored mix-ins like gold mica flakes or silver mica flakes, to an extent, you can get some of this by just mixing your regular watercolors in with an iridescent medium or in with a good gold or pearlescent or silver metal watercolor. And if you're really looking for liquid metal, Winsor & Newton's gold, silver, and bronze are all really beautiful. They include real metallic flakes in them, and that's going to be more likely to give you what you're looking for. And if you're looking for like a chrome mirror effect, Molotow makes a chrome pin that on smooth surfaces really gives you a mirror finish. So there are just a lot of other options, and this isn't even really one of the contenders. So how did you guys feel about the Mozart Komorebi metallic watercolors? I have to say, I was pretty disappointed. We're out here in the beautiful sunshine, so hopefully it should actually reflect the colors for you guys. But I was actually kind of disappointed with the pigment load. They promised liquid metal watercolors, and compared to the Fintecs, these just aren't it. You really have to scrub and pre-activate them to get any metallics at all. They also get used up. Whoa, let me make sure I don't drop everything. They get used up really quickly, and frankly, every time I open this set, it has this strong kind of off-gassy smell to it that's not really a good sign. I've noticed that with a lot of cheap Chinese watercolors. I wonder if that's a common ingredient that's being used to make these more affordable. But this is what the set looks like. Not so cute, right? Not anymore. Still kind of cute, but not as cute as it was when it was brand new. Why does it never go smoothly when I want it to go smoothly? Why are there always hiccups when I'm hoping to get it done in one take? So what do you guys think of the set? Have you tried it? Do you have it? Did you have better experiences? Did you have worse experiences? Let me know down in the comments below. And if there are any metallic watercolors that you're curious about and you'd like to see me talk about here on the channel, let me know that as well. So while these metallic watercolors are not the kind of watercolors I would use to paint 7-inch Cara, mostly because these kind of special effects watercolors look, in general, not these, but in general, they look good in person, but they don't scan very well. And it's really better, in my opinion, for comic pages to try and just replicate through texture and how you handle the paints, those kind of metallic effects. They are really fun for physical things. It could be commissions. I used to use metallic watercolors on my convention commissions all the time. It could be for hand lettering. I think in general, metallic watercolors are quite popular with hand letterers. It could also be to add accents to wedding invitations or just anything that you kind of want to make it a little bit more special and a little bit more personalized. So I can see people thinking about this set because you get 24 colors, but frankly, the color range isn't as impressive as you would think. And they do show up on black paper, but I will say there are other metallic watercolors that are more vibrant, more saturated, and that will last you longer. If you're just buying this for a one-time application, like the wedding invitations we just talked about, it's probably fine. It's probably not really worth it for you to spend the extra money. But if you think you're gonna get into it, whether it's card making, hand lettering, or adding beautiful pearlescent accents to your work, the Hydrocolor watercolors that I reviewed here on the channel, and those are handmade, so you're supporting a small business, those are great. And Finetec watercolors are great. Or if you're looking for a really easy punch of liquid metal that really does feel metallic, Winsor & Newton's gold, silver, and copper or bronze, I can't quite remember, they make these inks that actually contain metal pigments or metal particles, and those are much better. I really like those, and they work well with the dip pins. So not only do they work with a brush, but you can use them with a dip pen. So if you're interested in metallics, I would check those out. Speaking of checking out, if you haven't checked out my comic, 7-inch Cara, it would really mean a lot to me if you would do so. It is a watercolor comic. You can read the first 8 chapters for free at 7inchcara.com, or if you're a fan of physical books, the Dead Tree format like I am, you can get the first and second volume at 7inchcara.com. If you have a younger comic fan or a younger reader in your life, I think they will genuinely enjoy 7-inch Cara. And if you enjoy softer stories that focus on interesting family dynamics and the power and value of friendship despite differences, and if you enjoy Studio Ghibli, cottagecore, Moriki, or The Flying Witch, I think you'll really enjoy 7-inch Cara. So I hope you guys will check it out. So I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I do enjoy reviewing these kinds of art supplies because they can be really helpful in helping people make art a habit. So let me know what you think of this palette if you've had experiences with it in the comments, as well as let me know what other metallic watercolors or special effects watercolors you'd like to see me review that I haven't reviewed yet. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you guys again soon. Bye guys!